Welcome back to WNST, Towson, Baltimore. At Baltimore Positive, we are positively out on the road doing the Maryland Crab Cake Tour. I've been promising that Roz from the Maryland Lottery would bring me the new holiday scratch-offs. The gingerbreads really do. Oh, snap, they smell like gingerbread. So I've been giving these out here at Gertrude's. We're at the BMA, celebrating Dan Roderick's. And Baltimore, you have no idea next week, also celebrating the crab cake. And there's multiple crab cakes here. They have vegan crab cake.
Yeah.
They have fried crab cake. And they have...
Senator Barb's crab cake, and then they have
Gertrude's.
Gertrude's, yeah.
Odette Ramos is here. She is the councilwoman. I am in
Hi,
your
everybody.
Tell everybody where we are. Where are we? What district are we in?
We are in the 14th district, right, pretty much in the middle of the district here at Gertrude, which is inside the BMA. Very proud to be able to represent this area.
Well, I tell you what, this is a thing to be proud of. I mean, I think the Hopkins campus and the area that you're involved with, I've been at Gertrude's many times for events and functions. I'm going to have John Shields on. So you want a Baltimore story? You want a real Baltimore story?
Sure.
Well, two Baltimore stories. First things first, I've known your husband for 30 years.
Yeah.
And I found out that he was away, and I'm thinking, who's guarding the coquito? And it turns out that you are in charge. Usually comes with a little Puerto Rican flag. I
couldn't find the flag today.
I usually stop by your house, right in the neighborhood here.
Right.
And 'tis the season. So, John, I have received it. Thank you very much. I'm 2 for 2. Yesterday, I was at Coco's, and I was literally doing this segment, and I didn't even realize I had the bar manager on. And they're so magnanimous over there. Marcy sits down and they put this big vat of eggnog down. And I'm like, what's in that? He's like, oh, bourbon, whiskey, rum. And I'm like, ooh, I'm getting coquito. And I have now a quart of eggnog, spiked eggnog from Coco's.
Right.
And I have some coquito. What could be around the corner for me? What could be waiting tomorrow at Hollywood?
I know, right? You got a lot of good luck there. Absolutely.
You are a returning champion here. I've known your husband forever.
Mm-hmm.
You have been the reason for this vegan crab cake thing here. You're the one. You got to get over to Gertrude's and meet John Shields. And fell at the bar here that I literally just gave a lottery ticket to said, hey, I met you at Best of Baltimore last year, Baltimore Magazine. You said you were going to wind up doing the crab cake tour here. And I'm like, I've been wanting to do it. So all this happened a year ago last week. I came to the BMA. Mm-hmm. I saw Dan Roderick's show, Baltimore, you have no idea. I had Dan down at Fadley's where you've been before. And Dan's a mentor to me. I've known Dan 40 years. I love Dan. I said, the show was so good. He's like, that means a lot from you because you're a critical guy. And I'm like, no. The show was amazing. I said, next year, I wanted to come out and be a part of it and bring loved ones, bring people like you. You were on my invite list, believe it or not. Have you seen the show yet?
I have not seen the show yet, so I do need to.
When's
especially
John
since
back?
It's here.
Because I'm not going to let you see it without him because he's Mr. Baltimore.
Oh yeah, he's back in a couple weeks, so
right.
We'll take care of it.
It's this close to sold out.
I know.
Close to sold out.
Well, I'm hoping Dan will leave some room for me.
So I'm going to give you a whole Baltimore thing. I've been to Gertrude's a dozen times. I've been to the BMA more than that. I was here a year ago this week. I did not come to Gertrude's. I came in. We did 34th Street. We did, which they have the motif behind you here. That is the theme at Gertrude's is 34th Street. So come on by. We did Ekabin, my favorite broccoli, and we froze our butts off parking around the corner here. And we came in and went right up to Dan's show. I had to pee. We ran in. We were like late. Saw the show. Show was amazing. We left. I didn't come back. Saw you at Mako earlier in the year. You did the show when the governor came by, who lives in the district, by the way.
Right.
And who's coming on my show, allegedly, soon. And John Shields' name came up, and it came up last year, and he's a Facebook friend, which I didn't realize. Right. He is the proprietor here.
He lives in the area.
You know him. Dan says, oh, you got to get with John, do the crab cake tour at Gertrude's and like all that. I said, well, Dan, I want to promote your show. I'm going to come before the show today.
Right. That's good.
And then I told you, vegan crab cake, let's do it. So John and I had a conversation a month ago putting this together. Nice 15-minute, getting to know you.
Right.
Yesterday I put up that I'm at Gertrude's. So what in relation to me, my son's wife's mother, what is that to me?
Oh, my gosh.
My son and his wife, my son's wife's mother. Are we in-laws?
Yes,
I don't know, what are we?
I think so.
We're in-laws? Is that what an in-law is?
Yeah.
Your kid marries another kid, their parents, and you stand on the...
in-laws.
So Cindy is that person.
Okay.
I don't know what to call her. Cindy's my... she feels like my stepdaughter. My daughter-in-law's mother. Okay?
Okay.
And the father played Little League on my dad's baseball team. Long
Crazy.
story. So my kid winds up marrying a kid who played on my dad's Little League team's daughter. Okay? And they've been married, I don't know, 7 years, whatever. They're in Amsterdam. They're flying back. Put up on my Facebook page, I'm going to Gertrude's. Cindy puts up, John Shields is my cousin. I love him. Tell him I said hello. And I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, how come you didn't tell me? Right.
Does that mean I'm related to John Shields?
Right.
I think I am.
By marriage, yeah.
Right. Small-to-more.
I know, I love it.
And you've been trying to get me to this joint forever.
I know, for the last couple of years, absolutely.
Well, I'm here. What makes your district great? I mean, I'll start with that. And obviously, there's a lot of diversity, a lot of different income levels, a lot of different. I mean, there's poverty. There's all you talk about urban blight and trying to fix housing and all that. All that exists in every
district,
of every big city, right? Like literally, of every big city. We don't say that enough. Crime exists, but not every big city has one of these. Not every small city has one of these. I've been in little places like Greenville, South Carolina, nice places, but they don't have a modern museum of art here that's like this. Gertrude's has been packed today. There were kids here when I got here today.
They're always packed.
This place is active.
And they're celebrating their 25th anniversary this year. So this isn't new. They have been here doing this and being a part of the community for 25 years. And you can see John Shields at 7 a.m. at the Waverly Market every Saturday, getting all of the things that he needs from local growers to be able to feed people here at Gertrude.
So you're telling me that delicious salad that I had with those blackberries, all local?
Yes.
And the other thing that I had, and Roderick's, so I get here, I'm doing the crab cake tour, and we're going to have a vegan crab cake. Some people say that's not a crab cake, but nonetheless, I really wanted to do an oyster tour this year, and it was inspired by
they have oysters here too.
Well, Damien Fadley's brought me when I was doing the show with someone like you. She just fried oysters and dropped them. She likes doing that to me. She did that with the deviled eggs. Didn't go well. Ness doesn't do deviled eggs, right? I don't do that. So we did a whole segment on that. But she brought fried oysters, and I had one on the show, and I'm like, I don't know that I've ever really dug or like ordered one or been in a restaurant or whatever. So I still, in my life, I have never ordered a fried oyster in a restaurant. I've had them brought to me. I've maybe grabbed them on an appetizer tray or something when I've been somewhere and said, oh, that's a fried oyster, I'll eat that. But not like, I'll have the fried oyster over the shrimp, the crab, the fish, the steak, whatever I would eat, right? Salads, soups. Today I came in and the hostess says, get the fried oysters. The internet said, try the fried oysters.
Right.
Both of my servers, I've had two servers here today, Ronnie and Alexa, both said, try the fried oysters. I got the fried oysters. So I got a soup, and the bread was delicious, and then the fried oysters came, and I looked at them, and Ronnie's like, the remoulade, and I'm like, okay. So Roderick's walks over to me. Now, I had one bite, and Roderick's was doing the thing with a lady about his show. And I had one bite, and I grabbed my phone, and I started to tweet about how awesome it was. I said, I think this is the beginning of the oyster tour.
Right, there you go.
And just as I hit send, Roderick's comes over to me. He's like, oh, you got the oysters. You got to get the oysters. They were so... This is a fabulous place.
Oh, yeah. No, Gertrude's is the best. It really is. And, the... customer service is amazing. John, again, is, here. And lives in the area, and they do they support a lot of organizations, so it's really great. So I'm very proud to represent John and represent Gertrude's and the BMA. And
what makes this place great? So, I ask you that. I never give a chance.
Yeah, my district is great for a lot of reasons, but one big one, frankly, is it's yes, there's the diverse neighborhoods, but it's actually every single person who lives in this city and in my district are care about the city, want to be a part of the solution, very passionate about their neighborhoods, very protective of their neighborhoods. I love it. I absolutely love it. And one of the other great things, now that we're talking about, we've got the holidays coming up, I represent most of Hamden, and so we've got the Mayor's Christmas Parade. It is the 50th year of the parade, and Morgan State University's marching band is going to be in there.
It's By the way, they're playing the Ravens game, too.
amazing. And then also we've got, the 34th Street lights. So, this is the place to be for the holidays. And of course, all of the local restaurants celebrate the holidays in different ways, all the shops.
34th Street's in your district?
Of course.
Of
course.
So anytime we have visitors from now through,
right.
And over 20 years of my marriage, people come to town, relatives, friends, people stop through or whatever.
Just go to 34th Street.
Yeah, and you say their national news comes every year. Because there's not a 34th Street in every city.
No, that's right.
In most
it's very
cities,
special, especially since it's organized by the residents.
By the community, sure.
And the family that's been there for a very, very long time, over 75 years, being able, doing this. So this is a really big deal. And
if you've never been, I can't believe that there are people from Baltimore that have never been.
Everybody's got to go.
I think when you go there, the first thing you say is...
Even if you're not in Baltimore and you're in Baltimore County or Harford County, come and experience how amazing this is.
And eat down here.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing is that there's, it's in a neighborhood where there's a lot of restaurants and, there's definitely ways to hang out in the city and then end your day at the lights. It's really amazing.
I come through Hampden all the time because the Royal Farms headquarters is there. I'm Royal Farms sponsored. I love Ecobin. Everybody knows that. I love the Avenue in general. Rodney over at Dangerously Delicious Pie is my buddy. Mm-hmm. So, for me, living in the city or now living in the Towson area, the 83 artery to jump off. I did it today. I gassed up at the Royal Farms on 41st. I want to try the new steak joint over there. Medium.
It's rare. Over in the Rotunda.
The Rotunda, yeah.
It's at the Rotunda.
Check that out, too.
Yep. And then on the other side of my district where I have Lake Montebello, where, there's some construction going on now, but,
Not quite to Coco's. You stop right before
I know,
Coco's.
Not quite to Coco's. That's
I was there yesterday.
Okay, that's good. But it's a great...
I'll get Ryan out. I haven't had him out yet. So.
Oh, you should. Yeah. He's an interesting guy. It'll be a good conversation. We have lots of different things that people can explore all over the district. The housing stock is totally different in different neighborhoods of the district. It's really amazing. So, and then I have, we just finished redistricting. So, starting in December, I have a new section of my district over, including Peabody Heights. So it's, that piece. All of our districts are changing slightly. Well, two of them are not, but most of the districts are changing slightly. And you have to do that every 10 years because of the census, so that we all have an equal amount or almost roughly equal amount of people that we're representing.
All right, so pretend somebody out here doesn't watch the news, whether it's Fox 45 and everything's awful, or whether it's just down the middle or whatever the crime or the politics would be. The things that get to me through the cracks of me following the news and subscribing to Banners and Sons and doing all that stuff. The city council last week and the thoughts about the harbor. The harbor is a hot button in a lot of ways. Everybody I talked to is talking about it in some way or another. Dan Rodriguez and I went at it. And then I've been Mr. Stadium guy, and I didn't know the stadium would be this sexy. I said to Dan, and I said to Luke earlier this week, my most clicked on stuff this month hasn't been Ravens at 9-3 or even Orioles off season, or it has literally been what's happening with this $1.2 billion and how's it benefiting our people, and what are we doing? What is happening to the core, the core of the city? Not your council, or not your district, excuse me, but part of the artery that's going to power all this, and whatever decisions get made. As I look at that empty palette of 1972, I shared this aerial picture and thought, all right, well, the next 50 years, you are the decision makers. We are the voters. We're the ones that are going to say, going to power that engine as the state and Westmore for the stadium and, quite frankly, for what they're asking for at the harbor to say what is going to make all of us go back the way we've gone the last 50 years.
Yeah, I think that it's going to be an interesting project. I don't know all of the details. I'm getting briefed in the next couple of weeks. I know it's definitely sparked a lot of conversation. I have a lot of emails from people, positive and negative. There's...
You're talking about the Bramble Project.
The Bramble Project,
sure,
yep. And then, of course, with the stadium and, the article that came out, like you said, about the $2 billion.
Well, it's only $100 million.
It's a lot, but I do think about the fact that what I have been saying from the very beginning, since I've been on the council, even before that, is I need $200 million on the street every year to be able to address vacant and abandoned properties. It's fine to do the stuff in the core, but we cannot forget the rest of the city, and that's what I'm afraid of. We have to make sure that we're addressing the rest of the city. People want to move to Baltimore, and not just to move into apartments. They want houses. We know that. yet. So
And we have a lot of houses here.
yes, but we do have a lot of houses here. We've got really good inventory, but we also have a lot. We could have more inventory if we're rehabbing the vacant houses. And the vacant houses are where you get your violent crime, the neighborhoods, young people walking to school next to a vacant property is going to make sure, they're not going to be ready to learn. That, to me, I mean, you've heard me talk about it.
If the people have the option to move into a neighborhood where there's a lot of vacant properties or not.
But that's why you can't do one at a time.
Right.
That's why you can't do one at a time.
You've taught me that.
You have to get a block-by-block solution, similar to what they're doing in Johnson Square and in other neighborhoods, to be able to make that work. So I'm glad that we're thinking about the vision for the city. I'm glad that, I used to have Memorial Stadium in my district. So, of course, it's a little sensitive for residents when, Memorial Stadium moved and, is now downtown.
I saw a great picture of ice rink on the Memorial Stadium
right.
on the third base side in the 70s.
Yeah.
And I had Ron Cassie on yesterday over at Coco's, and we were talking about winter wonder places you could ice skate and stuff like that. And we're just telling old stories, and I'm like, man, the way we've used space in this city in my lifetime that I've seen, that I've driven by and said, oh, look at how they're using that, or oh, God, they're not using that, or God, look at what happened to that.
Right.
Somewhere along the line, when you've driven past everywhere, I had an experience today, I think I told you before we went on the air, I drove through a pretty challenged part of West Baltimore, and I drove all through this city when I was thinking about trying to do what you crazy folks have done and help people and run and be good citizens. And I have so much respect for all of you in doing what you did. But I feel like there's some improvement from the last time I drove through. And that's how I judge it at 55. I got my ears up. I got my eyes open. I know there's carjackings, crimes, murders, gang. I know about it. But when I'm driving through, I'm like, is it getting better or is it getting worse? And I don't know. I feel like I left the city a year and a half ago. I drive through it 3 days a week. I drove in an area I hadn't been in maybe a year, and it got better. A little bit. Visually,
things
better.
are, change is slow, but I think it's happening. So
what are your signs?
Gotta keep it going.
What are your vital signs on that?
For me, it's just how people are feeling. I can see it in the buildings. Like today, I was in one of my neighborhoods finishing up a inventory of vacant properties that I do across the district. And I had noticed, when I was door knocking 4 years ago, that block, there was a lot more vacants. And now it's getting so much better. There's a lot of rehab happening in the area. So, to me, that's also a good sign that there's a lot of activity. People are feeling confident in the city and they're willing to invest. That's huge. And we still have a lot of work to do. That's a big deal. But, I think that's getting better. But I also, think when people come to events, when I'm talking with them and people feeling a little bit better, then that's great. There's still, some things that people are dealing with, like, the
after effects of COVID was really,
water
between employment worry, lockdown, all of that.
Yeah, a lot of elders who are aging
trying to
in
find
place.
something normal again the last 18 months.
But
right?
I think that in general, if people are feeling better, then that's a good thing. So, but we still have a lot more work to do. Those are two of my signs of seeing if there's activity happening in the areas that I've been working on, and also if people are feeling better. So. We'll see. There's also ebbs and flows, but the statistics are also showing it. Violent crime is down, which is super significant, right? Obviously, people are upset about the
that's a judgment barometer. That's a judgment barometer.
All of that. But for me, if we're seeing progress in terms of rehabs, because that's an issue that I work on, it's a really big deal. So, and we've been doing a lot of work around making sure that there's more affordable housing as well. Housing has just been really, really critical. We're getting there.
Your background lends to that, and I don't know that every council person would sit with me. Everybody's got an issue or something. You always talk about that.
Every single one of us came in with an interest that we wanted to work on. Every single one. And every single one is doing that, right? Everybody's got their interest, and they're working on their interest. We've got just introduced the other day the local control of the police department so that we can have local control. That's something that Councilman Conway has been working on for a long time. Councilwoman Porter has been working on, public health issues. So we each came in with something that we were interested in doing and supporting each other. It's pretty amazing to get the support of our colleagues.
In regard to the harbor and getting together and having council meeting, I'm not sure the citizens even understand what happens other than it's a headline, it's 2 minutes on the news, maybe you read something online about it, or you see a headline on social media, it's so involved. I had Jeffrey Ratnow, who's a local developer, but also a community association person in Federal Hill, talking about transportation and just trying to grasp it before you judge it, right? And that's where I was with Dan, and I've had a dozen conversations in the last month about it with significant citizens in different ways. But I want to talk to David Bramble. I want to ask. I lived in that neighborhood for 19 years. I left that neighborhood. I didn't rent in that neighborhood. And I saw the abandonment by a corporate entity of that space, right? Cheesecake Factory didn't abandon. Right. They were in business trying to work hard, but there wasn't enough of that going on in my neighborhood at the time. And I think, all right, so what's the plan? And I always think the plan can't be described. That's what I love about my show. You can't tell me the whole plan. I have Tom Kelso on with Maryland State. I'm not getting the whole plan in 18 minutes.
No, that's right.
I'm long form, and I'm poking and prodding and challenging, which is pretty much what you're doing when you're putting your reading glasses on, and you're sitting there in the council saying, is this poppycock? Do I believe in this? Do I not believe in this? And what am I going to say to the media when they enter my constituents, when I go back to my home in the other part of the city and say, we're building here and not there?
Yeah, one of the things that I know the premise around the way that the Inner Harbor was working before, but there were a lot of people who didn't think that the Inner Harbor was for us, neighbors, residents of the city. And that is a feeling that I've shared with the development community, with the developers, because that area has to feel like it's for us and not just outsiders and not just tourists. Now, yes, the tourist dollar is really important. We want to show off our city, but I want people who are from other places to also see all the rest of the city because it's really amazing, like up here. So I don't want the harbor to be the only place that visitors come to, but I also want it to be a place where residents of the city feel comfortable, feel like it's for us. That is going to be one of my barometers of the entire project, is our residents feeling like this is for us. And so we'll see. There are 3 bills. One is a charter amendment, and the other 2 are zoning bills. So right now we're not dealing with money. We're just dealing with giving them the opportunity and the permission to be able to build what they want to build. One allows for more height in that area. Another one allows for, right now, only commercial can be put in that area, so that we have to add residential. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out. Again, my biggest barometer is, do residents of Baltimore feel like the Inner Harbor is for us?
Well, I shared that picture, and maybe you're familiar with it. It's southbound viewing from what would be like 100 East Pratt of 1972.
Yeah, I saw that picture, yeah.
It's all dirt, all dirt, the McCormick Building. You can see the News American Building a little off to the side. You can see the church. You can see Federal Hill.
Yeah.
But there's nothing else standing there that exists to this day, that if you took that picture and say everything that happened there was part of a greater vision, whether it was the Hyatt attached to the harbor, attached to the convention center, attached to the science center, then attached to the aquarium that leads to Harbor East and the Pataracus land that led to the west to Camden Yard. None of that existed in 1972.
Right.
And I look at it very much like those Walt Disney pictures of, what Kissimmee, Florida and, Lake Buena Vista was going to look like before you came in and built the castle.
Right.
And this is where I am with John Angelos, who's trying to, hoodwink our citizens and taking money without a plan. At least with Bramble. With Bramble, there's a plan. And in my mind, I keep asking the same question of Tom Kelso, of everyone. That stadium's been there 30 years. They both have been there. The franchises have been there. One's been really successful. The other one's kicked it around and been an awful community partner forever. Mm-hmm. From the beginning of time, they've been awful. They continue to be awful because we don't have a lease, right? Even though they're good on the field. And I think to myself, that warehouse has been there, that space has been there, their stadiums have been there. They've played 80 games a year. They've played 10 games a year football. They've had concerts. What's the idea that's above and beyond throwing a ball and catching a ball and hitting a ball that already brings people down? They're going to start the games at 6:30, so forget going to dinner ahead of time, right? I mean, there's a whole play here to say, is this about the community, or is this about using the community as an ATM for a private business that acts off of public money.
Well, it's interesting because the Orioles in particular just have so much history here, right? I mean, you've talked to John and, all of his experience with, walking into Memorial Stadium with his
I've been
brothers.
over to Peabody and see the old Orioles Park.
And you see, right. So there's a lot of history there. And of course, the wonder and beauty of that particular stadium and the fact that it was designed by a woman, which is pretty awesome. So
a woman who lives right around the corner.
Yes, absolutely.
A new building here.
Right.
One of my favorite people.
I think that we want to keep them here for sure. Just at some point, somebody saw an idea of how in some other city that it was like super developed with all this commercial stuff around that stadium in order to also then have people come and spend money there and then also go to the game. And so I don't know. I mean, I think that ultimately, people go to the games to enjoy the games, have entertainment. Sometimes they're not watching the game; they're talking to whoever it is.
It's a sports bar.
And but the Orioles themselves, there's just so much tradition here that I can't imagine them not here.
I think. Well, that's not my concern. I mean, that's a false concern.
No, it's a false choice. That's exactly right. They're setting us up by saying, "Well, you can't have this if we don't have this."
It's false leverage.
It's just like that's crazy. They're not going to leave. That's insane. So yeah, I know it's a crazy,
No one disputes the importance of them. I dispute who's leading it and what the idea is based on our tax dollars, based on 30 years of history of seeing the way it's been run, to say if I gave you $5 billion, besides pocketing it, what would be the idea?
But that's the thing.
Going to bring thousands
you
of
can't just give
people
money
here?
without a plan. You can't. And they're just saying, you can't. There's no reason to do that. So
I'm
it's glad
as an elected official you feel that way.
Oh, yeah.
And I hope that every elected official, including one that lives in your district, feels that way. Because and I'm going to challenge him on that. And he knows this because I'm coming hard because I've witnessed this.
Yeah.
I'm a journalist banned from that facility.
No, I understand.
By them.
Yeah.
That's a whole different level for no reason other than asking for accountability.
Right.
For everything, not just for money that for their own actions on the field. And, as we sit here, the football team's doing great. And I'm waiting on the baseball team to do something, make news for something other than the lease. Like, literally.
I know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was totally unfortunate, too, because they were doing so well, and everybody's cheering them on, and then you've got this lease issue and hanging over their heads, Tell
everybody your background because I'm Venezuelan. You have a background of a place where they play a lot of baseball, right?
They play a lot of baseball. They play a lot of soccer from Puerto Rico. They play a lot of basketball.
How important is baseball in Puerto Rico? Like
super important.
How important is that to the foundational part of the little girl in you?
Well, I played softball, so when I was a kid, and played soccer, and I played, basketball. But, my dad was very much into baseball and a lot of other sports as well. And so, I remember him coming. He had a bat that was at his house when we would go visit my grandmother. And she still kept that bat that he used when he was playing. So that was important, as well. So, yeah, it's a big deal. Sports are a big deal there as well.
Well, anybody ask me, the reason I'm in this country is because of baseball, right? My cousin came here in 1966, played for the Orioles, brought my father. I love baseball, but there is a point where, what's the plan? That's
what's the plan?
What's the plan? That would be my. Odette Ramos is here. She is our councilwoman here. We're over at the BMA. We're at Gertrude's. She's the one that made me come, and I find out that the guy that runs the place is related to my daughter-in-law.
Such a Baltimore.
So if he's related to my daughter-in-law, is he related to me? I got
by
Google
marriage.
this.
Yes,
you have to say by marriage, and that's how you do it.
Yeah.
So it's in-law. Is there some gentility line for that? That's not by marriage.
In Baltimore, it actually doesn't matter because everybody's a cousin, so it's fine.
Well, we're all in it together.
Cousins.
I feel like
Even
I'm in
if
it with you.
they're not cousins.
You married my friend. I knew him before you knew him, right?
That's true. It's true. You know what?
Thanks for the coquito. You owe me a Puerto Rican flag, John. I appreciate that. I owe her an snap. These really do. They're scented. They told me they were going to smell like gingerbread.
Oh, they do.
I'm not sure the peppermint. Do I have to? Is it like a John Waters movie that I have to scratch it to smell it? Because I'll waste it if I do that. Top prize, $30,000. It's the holidays. We have Maryland Lottery tickets to give away. Our friends at Window Nation, 866-90Nation. If I weren't with such a dignified civil servant here, an elected official, I would wear This is a good baseball hat, and my Window Nation hat. 866-90Nation. Give them a call. Buy two, get two free. We got a holiday offer as well. Our friends at Jiffy Lube Multi-Care. And I have this gavel. Reminds me of Richard Scher on Square Off. It's Raskin Global. It's a beer opener.
It's a beer opener and a
patented. Guy should be a billionaire here in the
No, I know. It's also a crab thing.
All right.
Crab mallet.
We're back for more from Gertrude's. We're going to stay with the Councilwoman. I don't know what we're going to talk about next, but I'm sure it's going to be fun.
We'll
in
have
the
something
holidays.
to talk about. We always do.
Yeah, we're always fixing things around here. Councilwoman Odette Ramos back from Gertrude's on the Maryland Crab Cake Tour. Stay with us.